Hello everybody, I'm Thabang Khatide. I'm a professional model, artist and entrepreneur.
Thabang, tell us more about your journey. How did you come about ITS? How did you come about the agency? What made you choose the agency? What made you do ITS? What about this whole industry that we offer, or all the possibilities and platforms we offer? What intrigued you the most to be part of our family?
Alright, so how I came about IATS was actually, so I was building up my profile on Instagram and I did a photo shoot and I was building up my profile. As I'm building it up, funny enough, I came from gym the one day and voila, I got a particular DM on Instagram. So I had a look there and it was from actually a scout from here and her name was Elizabeth. And you know, from then on, like she invited me to audition that very same weekend. So I came through. I've never model walked in my life. I've never done runway. So obviously I had to Google how to walk like a model and stuff, quick. And I got there on the Saturday, and funny enough, when the day ended and after my audition, I actually walked away with the overall brand, overall model, and moreover, I got a call back for the actual IATS show. And it was quite amazing because it was a complete new experience for me, and it's always been something that people have told me to try before because they're like, bro, you have such a you literally look like a pretty boy, and it's always been a joke. And funny enough, this time around I actually decided to take it seriously, and it's been amazing, the journey thus far. And why I actually chose to be with this family in particular is because it's, if I can say, the people, the team that makes up this family is what's amazing for me, because it's a power team. It's people that are close together. It's not just people that are just managing models. It's people, they see you for who you are. They see you for the potential that you have, and that's the main thing for me is, they realize your potential from the get-go. They don't say, you see, you came like this, but we can't really work with you. They say, okay, cool, let's work with him. Let's build him up like this, and sooner or later he'll become the person that he wants to be and realize his dream, essentially.
Okay. What was your highlight going to the showcase at Silver Star Casino? Give me two of the most incredible highlights of your life. How did you feel before you walked onto that stage, knowing that there is a whole room full of people watching you? What was that feeling? What did you feel?
Okay, so honestly, it was terrifying, to say the least, absolutely terrifying. Because I was so nervous, and I knew I was hungry for it. I knew I had what it took. So I mean, even just being backstage and seeing so many other models that are taller, bigger, buffer, and it took a while where I really had to separate myself from the group and literally sit down and just be like, but bro, you have what it takes. You came here for a reason. They chose you for a reason to come and audition in front of international talent scouts. And I remember calling my cousin, and this is one of my highlights. I remember calling my cousin and I was like, yo, listen, I'm very nervous right now. I'm about to go on stage in the next 30 minutes and I'm freaking out. And I told her, but you know what? This is mine. I'm taking it, I'm bringing it home, no matter what it takes. And literally after the show itself, when we were going home, when we were driving home, I told my mom, I'm getting a call back. And I'm going to be there at the offices tomorrow for the callback session. And my mom was like, but how do you know? I'm like, trust me.
Elizabeth didn't just choose me for nothing.
Not at all.
I've got more purpose to life for that. All right. Explain the moment when you received that call.
Yeah.
When you saw the number, what went through your mind? Tell us about the callback, what was said, and how you jumped up and down and did all your things behind the scenes.
Yeah. So after the actual show itself, so we were driving home all together, and I remember we were told that we had basically 2 hours after the show itself. That's when the callback session would happen. And at that time, 2 hours had already elapsed. So now it's sure, did I not make it?
You're gonna get
exactly my point. So now it's sure, did I really not make it? And I remember being in bed around 1 a.m. That's when I got a random call from a random number, and I was like, this has to be it, because if this is not it, I would be so annoyed. And as I answered, it was actually Elizabeth that phoned me, which just made it all the more special because I mean, this is the lady that scouted me in the first place, and here she is telling me that, dude, you got the callback. You have the callback that we've been waiting for this whole time. And I remember me and her just crying over the phone, and it was just, yeah, there's no words to describe it. And obviously, it was just we were told when the callback session, what time I have to be there, so that we can discuss the full opportunity of IMTA at hand, and what it entails, and so forth, so forth. Yeah.
What is the one thing, when you got the DM from Elizabeth, you always thought you should do it, or people told you needed to do it, but what do you think did she see in you, particularly on that day, that made her send you that message? And what was the one thing that she said to you that made you believe in yourself, that you're not just a pretty face, but that that you also have the potential of taking modeling and making it something big? What are the things that stood out for you?
Okay, so to be honest with you, what really stood out for me the most was the fact that she messaged me twice. So she messaged me the first time. Yeah, really. She messaged me the first time. It was like a lengthy paragraph. It's like, hi, I'm Elizabeth from 33andMe Talent Agency, and I've just had a scan through your profile, and I love your pics and stuff. And that was the initial message I read, and I think I was still at the gym or something, so I was gonna respond later. And before I could even respond later, she messaged back and said, listen, I really like your profile and I really want to work with you. So just that fact just really made me really go the 9 yards, in the sense that someone really actually sees that, hey bro, you have the potential, you have what it takes. It's just now we need to work with you to bring out that potential in you. And the fact that she messaged twice, I think that really, I was sold. I was really sold by it.
Which team member had the most influence on your life? And what are the characteristics of that specific individual that stood out for you?
Okay, so at Silver Star Casino, at the IATS show, so I was literally like 3 models away from Heinrich. So Heinrich Lawrence, right? So I was like 3 models away from him. And it's crazy how like we were that close to each other. And I remember being in the back, and we were literally about to go on stage, and he was speaking with a fellow model who was a female. And as he was speaking to her, it's just like, I'm not just doing this because I've got the physique for it and all that stuff. Like I'm really doing this because I feel like this is what God has called me to do. Like this is my purpose. And having just heard him speak to that lady that way, it just made me realize there's so much more to modeling than just being all about looks and stuff. It really comes down to the character that you have as a person. And sure, I think his humility and just the way, the perspective that he had about, the modeling industry, it really just opened my eyes, and it just made me realize that, this is, I mean, because we're pretty similar in terms of characters and stuff, and I was like, I also wanna, it just made sense, it just connected, and I was just like, wow, that's he really had a massive impact, and he doesn't know it. This is like the first time I'm saying this.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. Before I get to that specific question that I would like to ask you, I would like to say, or ask you first, in one word, only one word, describe your whole life. One word.
Wow. Okay, that's not the word. Huh. Can I use 2?
Okay, I'll make the exception to the rule, yes.
Okay. Hidden potential. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Tell me a little bit more about your qualities and attributes that makes you stand out and that makes Thabang.
Okay, so that's always an interesting question, and the way I answer it the same. So for me personally, I see myself as a man of character. So I never want to be defined by titles. So, people will see me and be like, hey, pretty boy, and, this, Mr. Model, and stuff like that. But for me, those things don't really carry weight. Like, I always just want to be known as Thabang Khatide, like the person of character, like a person that people can relate to and chat to anytime they want, that sort of person. And, sure, I think that's the best answer I can give to that.
I think a lot of people will look at you just like you've said and say, "You're a pretty boy. He looks like he's got his whole life together, and he must come from a perfect background and perfect home, perfect everything."
Yeah.
But I know you personally, and I know that you have had a lot of blows in the last few years, and a lot of challenges that has not obvious. That's what people don't see about you, and I want you to tell us a little bit more about the challenges you had to face, near-death experiences that you had to face. How did you overcome all of that? How did that change your outlook, and how did that change you as a person?
I think one of the main things that I really had to work on personally was the fact that I can be whoever I want to be, and I think for too long growing up I always looked sideways. So I always had friends that were doing better than me, be it in the business world, be it at school, whatever the case may be. Like, I've always just looked sideways the whole time, and I've never really just sat down with myself and been like, bro, but you can do it as well. Like, you can achieve just that level, if not even more, And I really had to take time to just, deal with myself and really just introspect and say to myself, like, you can be that person. And I think that's the biggest thing that has developed over the time that I've been in the industry. Is I've realized that with certain gigs that I've booked, like FUBU and stuff like that, where I realized that, like, now I've become the people that I kept looking sideways on, and now I can really admire myself and have that self-confidence now. And in terms of the near-death experiences, I think such experiences really humble you, in the sense that as much as we may have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, and the sort, sometimes it never goes as planned, and things can end at any time. And I think it's really important for us as people to take each day and really live it to the fullest, because you cannot, like, there's nothing you can do personally to guarantee that you'll be alive tomorrow. There's nothing you can do. It's just by grace that you wake up every morning. So really, people need to understand that you need to max out every single day.
Opportunity you get.
Proper. Max it out. Proper.
What is your strongest characteristic?
Character. I think, because with character comes a lot of things. With character comes with being of clear mind, of a very sound mind. And I think a powerful mind is one that is made up. So when you have decided for yourself that, this year, this is what I'm going to do, and you stick by it, that is a very powerful mind. Like, no one can change what you've decided on, no matter what other, factors may come to play. If you have decided that, I'm going to be successful in this and this and this, it's going to happen one way or another. The problem comes when people are so stuck in, wanting this and wanting that, but they've never really decided for themselves that, boom, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to get to it. That's the main thing. So, yeah.
Thabang, as an artist in the industry, what advice do you have for fellow artists looking at entering the industry, who are currently in the industry, and who are still green in the industry?
Yeah.
What advice from you as an artist would you give to them?
So the advice I would give to them is count the cost. And by saying that, I basically mean, understand that it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot more than you think. Just like in business, that's why they tell you to start early, because it's gonna take a lot more than you think. That you won't get the initial support that you need at the beginning. Like, you need to sit down with yourself and decide that this is what I want from the industry. This is the niche that I'm gonna penetrate, and literally go for it. So you can't just go into it, with like, I'm gonna be this big artist, this big model and stuff like that, where you haven't even come to narrow it down to how you're gonna do it. need to decide on your brand as well. That's one of the most important things, because your brand is what is going to separate you as an artist in the industry. People will know you by your brand. And yeah, it's in a nutshell.
If you had the opportunity to say something to the person that selected you and scouted you and saw potential in you when you didn't even see potential in yourself, what would you say to that person? What would you say to Elizabeth?
I would say to her, thank you for seeing the seed in me. And not just seeing the seed, but willingly being the person that wanted to water it. That's as best as I can put it.
Awesome. My last question to you, Thabang, is COVID has obviously sprung on us in 2020.
Yeah.
And as an artist in the industry, a lot of people, as you know, has fallen off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
They don't want to pursue this industry anymore. They don't, they're using a lot of COVID as an excuse.
Yeah.
What would you tell them to focus on or not to focus on? Because I feel that a lot of people is hiding behind COVID.
Yeah.
Your business became a business during that time.
Yeah.
You didn't sit back and say, okay, cool, I can't model now, but
Exactly.
okay, now I can't do anything else. You started a business. Your business is thriving.
Yeah.
Tell us more about how you embraced this whole COVID situation, and how did you rise above and become successful in your business?
So, to answer that, the best way I can put it is simply that COVID really made me realize that there's no time for fear. Like, there really is no time for fear, because if you're not going to take that leap of faith now, I don't know when you're going to take it, to be honest. Because there's a lot of people that found themselves very comfortable in their jobs, and then COVID hit us. Voila, now they're basically toast. And really now comes the time where people need to start looking at building not just themselves, but just building, other sources of income and stuff like that. So I would say for people, particularly in this industry, right now should be the time. If you're using COVID as an excuse, at least be developing your brand at the same time then. At least start collaborating with designers, collaborate with photographers out there, build your brand, build your Instagram, put in the work. Simply put in the work. Behind the scenes, that's fine, just put in the work. There is no time for fear. There is no time for fear. We can't keep saying COVID, 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 COVID the whole time. There comes a time where you have to be like, okay, cool, yes, it's here, but at the same time, what is it that I can actually work on in the midst of it? And I think that's really what catapulted me into launching my business personally, was there's no time for fear.
And there's no time like now.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thabang, for joining us today, and I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you for having me.